From Does Size Matter, and we are at the Calgary RV Expo here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. So yes, the numbers are going to be in Canadian dollars. We are here at the Travel Land section where we're going to go over the Pleasure Way Class B vans with you. This video is going to be specific to the construction techniques used on the Ascent and the Ontour. They do have some differences because they're on different chassis, and I'll point those kinds of things out, but overall the construction of making one of these chassis into a van conversion Class B is what we're going to talk about in today's video. The other thing I want to mention to you is a resource that would be very helpful to you as you do your own research, and it's called rvreviews.net. It's one that Corey and I do use every time we go through and do research on any RV, and you can use it too. I'll put the link in the description. Check it out. They give you so much information, new, used, specific models, all types, so check them out. Now let's talk about the chassis first, because you got to start there, right? Let's go to the front. Talking about construction on the Ascent and the Ontour, the build out is the same, but they're on different chassis. So we're going to start with the Ascent, and it's on the Mercedes-Benz chassis. I've kept some notes here so that I can make sure I get it right. It is the Mercedes-Benz 2500 3.0 V6 Blue Tech, 188 horsepower, 325 feet-pounds of torque. It has a 144-inch wheelbase and a 7-speed transmission. There are pros and cons between the two. I'm not here to tell you which one's better or worse. You can decide that for yourself. I've been on lots of different forums, and it doesn't matter if you're buying a Ford or a Chevy or a Dodge. Forever since the beginning of time, men have been arguing over which one is better. So you can take care of that yourself. I just want to tell you the choices you get here at Pleasure Way. Now the Ontour is built on the Ford Transit chassis, so this is different. And it's a 3500 3.5 liter EcoBoost twin turbo, correct, Corey?
Yeah.
V6, 310 horsepower, 400 foot-pounds of torque, 6-speed transmission, and it's a gas. And so it's got a 148-inch wheelbase. So those are the main differences in the chassis. The other one is that the Ontour has a little more headroom. So for Corey and I, whatever. For those of you who are taller, that obviously makes a big difference. And the other thing that comes with that extra height is also bed space, sleeping. So that might be of importance to you too. Again, for Corey and I, we're not too worried about it. So I want to talk about how it all gets made. These chassis come into Pleasure Way. They also have a Roadmaster chassis that some of their other models are built on, but we're just talking about these two for this video. You will find, I'll do some tours of each one as well, and I'll put a link to those in the end so you can go to them directly and see the fancier things. I just wanted to get through the construction with you. So this chassis comes in, and it's just a van. It's just a van. You see them every day. Amazon's delivering in them. The grocery stores are delivering in them. All different types of businesses use these chassis. They come into the Pleasure Way factory as just a shell of a van. So they've got all the seats and the motor and the chassis and things. But then Pleasure Way takes off all of its pieces, like its bumper and fenders and things, and then they also build all of their own fiberglass pieces that are going to make things like your step up into and that follow along. And this has got your spot where you would put your sewer hose and your pulls for your valves and your tanks. They also build all of these types of doors, and they paint all of these with an automotive paint so that everything is going to match perfectly. They even make these little extra pieces that fit on the side of a contoured van, but bring it out to be flat so that their Truma systems can fit in there. So they do all of those kinds of things. And remember, to build a van, RV type style on a Mercedes-Benz chassis, you have to be a master outfitter, I think it's called, where Mercedes is very specific about what you can and can't do on their chassis and still maintain its integrity. So there's lots of things that have to be followed, and you want to make sure that that's happening, because that is what ensures your warranty will stay intact. Very important detail. We're now over at the Ontour to show you, I mean, it's hard to show you because this is already a beautiful, complete Class B van. But in the flooring here, if you can imagine, take you to a place before it got beautiful. As in any truck bed or van bed, it's a kind of shaped, corrugated type of thing. What Pleasureway does is they put these steel slats in between, not all over, but in between in certain locations, and they put big bolts down through it, and then from underneath is where they mount to those bolts the tanks, like your fresh and your gray and your black and your propane and your generator, and they mount all that up from underneath. And remember, you got to do that only according to what Mercedes-Benz will allow, because of the way they coat their chassis and things like that. And so even though the Ontour is on the Ford, not the Mercedes, they just build them all the same anyways, because it's just easier for their staff in building. So they do have a high standard that they build that to. So you've got those steel things in the slats that the tanks are. Then in between, in any other sort of spaces that there might be, they'll put some bits of strips of wood to keep it very level. Then they come and they bring in their plywood and they put that down. Now the way that that goes down is with a really strong adhering glue. So they glue all of the slats, they glue this plywood down to it. They do the entire van. There's nothing in there, they do the entire van floor. They come back and they then screw those that plywood down. So it's a glued and screwed flooring system to keep it from squeaking or moving and things like that. And the fact that the entire floor is plywood is an important detail. They don't just put the plywood where your walking surfaces are. They don't build around the cabinetry or things like that. They do the full base and then they build everything on top of that. So that's an important thing to know. They also use things like carpeting, or they have a really nice thick vinyl flooring that goes in as well, and that's got a bit of an insulating factor. It's a little bit soft, high quality, and because that part, the vinyl piece, does go around the cabinetry, they can afford to put in small spaces, high quality products without adding huge expense. So then once the floor is all secure and complete, they do fill in the screw holes for you. So that's all filled in, sanded, so there's not going to be any spots that, you know, your flooring could dip into before they put that vinyl stuff on there. So once the flooring is complete, then they move on to things like cabinetry and stuff like that. The other thing that I want to talk about then is the wall construction inside. Now remember, this came as just one big van, and they're having to do cutouts. They got a cutout for these windows. They got a cutout on the top in the roof for a air conditioner. They make vent space. They have all these openings that they got to cut out. So when they cut out the metal, again, there are very specific standards that they have to meet so that they are not reducing the integrity of a van in the safety aspects. And Mercedes-Benz is very specific about that. So there are places in here where they will actually be reinforcing the openings and the walls to keep the integrity of the structure. And they would do that the same in the roof. So when they make that cutout, they may need to, not always, but they may need to put in a reinforcement, which they do. When they do that, they do a full rust proofing, they do the full painting process so that everything is indeed exact, just like it would have been from the factory. We've still got those empty van walls, right? So what do they do with those? They're putting a fiberglass batting insulation into the spaces in the walls, and then they finish that out with this sort of microfiber finish to give you insulated walls. And of course, wherever your cabinetry is and stuff. Then on the ceiling, they're using a foil-backed fiberglass insulation in there, and then they're using this vinyl one-piece stuff that comes down and coats the ceiling. So that gives you your insulation throughout the rig. What should be noted is that the tanks that are underneath are not insulated or heated, and but the plumbing is mostly run throughout the house. So you can't say this is a four-season rig, and Pleasureway doesn't claim that it is, because the plumbing from the house to the tanks is not heated or insulated. Some people will do things like add a wrap to that or those kinds of things to try and keep them insulated. Also on both the Ascent and the Ontour, you get the Truma AquaGo with the Comfort Plus water heater. So this is an on-demand water heater, and the way that it works is, if you can see in here, can you see that, Corey? So there's a small recirculating system here, and it moves the water through and through so that it gets heated, and this would be a propane heater, but it also has the Comfort Plus, which is a section that keeps the water warm, about a liter, so that the minute you turn on the tap, you almost have instant hot water, and then it recirculates through the system and keeps giving you hot water. So what we love about that is things that you might have heard us say in other videos about the on-demand systems wasting water while we waited for it to warm up has been taken care of by this Comfort Plus system. So we are loving this system. Feature that Pleasureway has gone to in the Ascent and the Ontour is the Truma Vario furnace. So this is again a propane furnace with a variable speed fan. So it's a quieter fan. It's not cutting in and out as much as historically furnace fans have. They've been loud in the past, and this is just a way to quiet it down. It still has a propane element that is what's heating the air, but then it's got that quieter fan, and it's a bit more efficient. So people are really liking it, and that's why Pleasureway's gone to it. Next, I want to talk about the electrical in the Pleasureways. In both the Ontour and the Ascent, you get two 100 amp hour lithium batteries with 300 watts of solar, and you get 2,000 watt inverter. So that's a pretty big skookum solar package for these small rigs. Now they probably have a few more electrical draws, but even in comparison to maybe something a little bigger or a little more expensive, that is an awesome electrical package. You also get seat belts, because back here, and we'll show you when we go into the tour video, and you'll be able to click on that, you get seating in this back couch. So there's good seat belts that are bolted into the frame back here. And then one other thing I want to show you is through these back doors, you can see rolled up there is a gorgeous screen. And I'm going to take you over here to the Ascent and try and show you a little more about the screen. Because basically the rolled down piece comes down and zips in here, and you're thinking, okay, but it's zipped in. How do I get in and out? I don't want to fiddle with the zipper. You don't have to. These are actually magnetic. So imagine that piece is zipped down here. You can just move this aside, walk in, and the magnet catches. So I like it. I'm not worried about the pulling in and out of a screen and getting it back in, and we've had troubles with that in some screens. Even the one we have at home has a bit of a problem with it. This magnetic system is so totally cool. It allows you all this space, all that back space open when you're inside, like the airflow, the view. it would be wonderful. So these are really great rigs. Hope you've liked this construction video. Click on one of the corners here and I'll bring you on a tour of the Ascent, and there'll be one of the Ontour. And hit subscribe, hit the like button, and join us for more. Thanks for watching.